morning, or good afternoon, as the case may be, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a project that I've really wanted to try for a long time. Basically, I have a lot of medieval pieces, whether they are for actual reenactment or if they're history bounding like my last project was, and I also have a complete 17th century, so a complete 1600s era outfit, which I use for reenactment. But there are many eras that, of course, I haven't tried. Today, I wanted to try something that is 18th century, so 1700s. For our fabric, we're going to be using this wonderful, lovely, almost French blue, but not quite, cotton jersey knit. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to make something that is inspired by the 17th century gowns and jackets that women in England and America would have been wearing. Alright, so our first reference picture is this jacket. It's British and from the 1770s, and unfortunately there is not a picture of it taken from the front while it's on a form, just this one of it kind of laid out flat. But there are these two pictures, one from the side and one from the back of it on a form, so we can at least get a little bit of an idea of what it looks like on a real person. I am going to be taking out kind of the large amount of fullness in the center back, and a little bit of fullness on the sides as well, and I'm going to set the arm's eyes slightly farther forward than they are in the pictures on the back. In the 1700s, the arm's eyes on jackets and dresses were just extremely far back, and I don't want mine to be quite that far back. Second reference picture, it's French, of course, and it's circa 1770. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm kind of combining the two references. So I'm taking pieces of the jacket design and pieces of the bodice design from the dress and kind of combining them to make what I'd like my overall design to be. So from the jacket, I'm taking the length of the garment. It's going to be, you know, just slightly past the waist, a little bit to the hips. It's not going to be a full-length dress. And then from the dress, I'm going to have that deeper kind of square neckline as opposed to the higher neckline that we see on the jacket. I'm also taking a more plain appearance rather than the very elaborate decoration that we see on the gown. And then instead of having a center front opening on the jacket, I'm going to have the triangular center panel that we see on the gown, but I'm taking off the trimming that we see as well. And last but not least, I really like the sleeve ruffles, so I'm going to take the sleeve ruffles that we see on the gown and put those onto the ends of the sleeves for the jacket. I want to just show you kind of visually on the jacket itself. So this is the deeper kind of square neckline that I'm putting in. Going to take that triangular panel, and it's coming just to a small point in the center front. And then the sleeve floofity bits, the little sleeve ruffles, are going to go onto the ends there. Here's the final pattern and also my assistant's tail. Please excuse him, he just decided he wanted to sit on the pattern, so here we are. Anyways, so on the far left there is the center front panel, which I'm going to be cutting on the fold. So that's half the width of the final panel. Then the next one is the side front, followed by the side, and then the center back panel is the one all the way over on the right that is sat upon by the cat right now. So I'm going to try and convince Mr. Angus to get off of the surface so that I can cut some fabric. Wish me luck with that. I'm going to start by cutting the center front panel on the fold. I've grabbed my pattern weights, and fortunately the cat moved, so that means that I can safely cut out my fabric. Foolishly, I chose a pattern that included seam allowance, so I do generally prefer to use net patterns and then just have the seam allowance outside, and instead here I am tracing the half-inch seam allowance on myself. So that is just how I've chosen to live my life for this project, I guess. a little bit ahead of myself here, and I started to actually pin and tack the seams together, and then I realized, wait, I should probably be filming this, so here I am pinning and tacking one of the later seams together. So starting with putting the pins in, and then once I have the pins in, I will tack all of them down so that I can carry my project around without shedding pins everywhere and making my friends decide not to invite me back to their houses. It is finally time for the stitching. Every single time I start a project, I feel like I spend way more hours than I'd like to on the setup, especially on cutting fabric, drawing the stitch lines, etc. And then once I feel like I'm actually pinning and tacking things together, I start feeling like I'm getting somewhere. But really, the actual stitching is my favorite part of any project, so it's always nice when I get to that part. This is the point where I really got in the zone with the project, and I didn't actually record that much of me doing the sleeves at all, but here I am working on the sleeve ruffles, and if you look closely you can see that I ended up having to put a gusset into the middle of them because I first tacked them onto the sleeves and I realized they weren't quite as full as I wanted them to be, so I took them off the sleeves, went back, cut out a gusset, put the gusset into the sleeve ruffles, and now I am running just a little gathering thread through them so that I can gather them, if I need to, onto the sleeve itself. The gathering thread did turn out to be a good idea because I did have to gather both of the sleeve ruffles just very slightly in order to match them up completely with the sleeve. So here I am matching those up and then pinning them down so I can tack them. This is the last step that I have to do, so I'm very excited about finally getting it done. Alright, so this project is finally finished. I did a bunch of work on it, and then I somehow ended up taking a literal 4-week break by accident. In that time, I did a lot of other stuff, mostly like cleaning, rearranging furniture, stuff like that. So, you know, outside of my day job, I was pretty busy, and I just didn't end up having time to film for 4 weeks. Sorry about that. So I picked this project back up, and I just finished it a couple days ago, and I'm uploading it literally a month after I originally planned on uploading it, so... Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead to the reveal. Thank you for joining me on this slightly delayed journey, and I hope to see you much sooner with my next video. Bye!
Who's a good boy? Yes, such a good boy. Yes, you are. Oh, yeah. Fetch. That didn't work. Still a good boy, 10 out of 10.